Oh, boy. All right. Waste all that. Play it hard. You ready? All right, it's close enough to 6 o'clock. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We got a big night tonight. We got a lot to go through. If you could mute your phones, your cell phones, if you would, please. To call the meeting to order, let's stand and say the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the approval of the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes of the?
Bob, you might want to.
Oh, okay, thank you. Roll call, Becky, sorry.
All right. Arlen McLean. Lara Mamini.
Here.
John Nicholson.
Yes.
Chris Norberg.
Here.
Bill Palin.
Present.
Jim Sheeline.
Here.
Marilyn Shippert.
Here.
Jack Scrogstad.
Here.
Jim Wentling. Katie White. Marvin Williams. Mike Zeman.
Here.
Danielle Allen. Here. Dave Bally.
Here.
Dave Bowers.
Here.
Casey Considine.
Present.
Doug Farster.
Here.
Bob Gibbler.
Here.
Jim Horseman.
Here.
Keen Hudson.
Present.
Rick Humphrey.
Here.
Tom Kitson.
Present.
Mike Copine.
Present.
And Bob Olson.
Present. Okay, everybody get a chance to look the minutes over. Any corrections? We'll let the minutes stand as read. Move forward. Next, we have a resolution recognizing Dave Bowers for his time served in the Lee County Board.
Okay, I'd like to read this resolution in recognition of profound appreciation and distinguished.
First of all, let's have Dave come up here, I guess.
Okay.
And then I'm going to remind everybody to talk into their micro close, please, so it goes through on YouTube.
Okay. In recognition of profound appreciation of distinguished service by David Bowers. Whereas David Bowers, a true gentleman, Christian in action and deed, patient and well-spoken, has worked mindfully and tirelessly in pursuit of the interests and betterments of Lee County. His involvement in county government included, but was not limited to, serving as the chair of properties, the Planning and Zoning Committee, the Solar Ordinance Ad Hoc Committee, and a member of the Lee County Board. David was actively involved in the planning and final reality of the Lee County Law Enforcement Center and the new Emergency Management Center in the new courts building. He was a driving force behind the planning and installation of the new phone system, fiber and Voip. Dave also initiated the drive behind the tuck pointing project at the old courthouse, along with the ad hoc committee who worked with the purpose of bringing county to a fully functioning solar ordinance. Whereas David Bowers has provided outstanding leadership and guidance to Lee County in each and every capacity he has served in. And whereas Dave Bowers has served as a county board member from December 1st, 2016 through April 15th, 2021. And whereas David Bowers has served faithfully and with honor, integrity, and great distinction during his time in county government, earning the respect of board members, county officers, employees, and the public. Now therefore be it resolved that the Lee County Board formally acknowledges and extends its profound appreciation to David Bowers for the contributions made during this time of service to Lee County. Further be it resolved that to commemorate his extraordinary dedication and service to the Lee County, to the citizens of Lee County, David Bowers is being furnished a copy of this resolution, which shall be duly recorded and spread upon the minutes of the April 15th, 2021 meeting of the Lee County Board. I'd make a motion that the board pass that.
I'll second that.
We got a first, we got a second. We had a first and a second.
Lyrum, second.
Lyrum seconded. So all those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Dave. So now I'd entertain a motion. We've got 5 petitions before us. I'd like a motion to approve all 5 at once. Tom Kitson, Chris Norberg seconds. All those in favor of voting for them all 5 together signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like it made known that I abstained from voting in the petition.
And on this ones, you don't have to. These are zoning board. So unless you want to.
No, thanks.
Okay. So they got all 5 in front of us. I guess I could read them. I think we all can read them. We have problems, we don't read them? All right. I'd entertain a motion for all 5 of these to approve them. John Nicholson, Chris Norberg. Any discussion for the 5? John? Yeah, talking your mic, but you're just going to zoning board. We're just sending them to zoning board, so. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. To the planning commission, no petitions. From the zoning board, we have petition number 21-P-1560.
This is Marvin. Am I in?
Yep. You're in, Marvin. Okay,
Okay.
from the zoning board, we have a petition number 21-P-1560, petitioner Jared Zellhofer, parcel number part of the 02-15-26-200-002, Amboy Township. Petitioner is requesting a map amendment for the purpose of conducting business for construction of agricultural buildings, production steel, roofing, lawn care, landscaping services, and general carpenter. Do I have a first and a second? Then we'll have discussion. Casey first, Tom Kitson seconds. Any discussion? Discussion up there? No more discussion? And we're gonna do a roll call vote on this.
Okay. Lyrum Amini,
Yes.
John Nicholson,
Yes.
Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Bill Palin,
Yes.
Jim Sheeline,
Yes.
Marilyn Shippert,
Yes.
Jack Scrogstad,
Yes.
Marvin Williams.
Yeah.
Marvin Williams, okay, Mike Zeman,
Yes.
Danielle Allen,
Yes.
Dave Valley,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Casey Considine,
Yes.
Doug Farster,
Yes.
Bob Gibler. I can't hear you, Bob.
Muted.
Bob, you're muted.
Okay, yes.
Jim Horseman,
Yes.
Keen Hudson,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey,
Yes.
Tom Kitson,
Yes.
Mike Copine,
Yes.
Arlen McLean. Bob Olson.
I'll abstain. Yes.
Okay, you've got 1, 2, 3. Do I ask for Marvin?
That's Marvin. Marvin, are you there yet? Are you muted?
He's off now.
Okay.
He gone.
We got 20 yes, so the motion carries. From the planning commission, we have no petitions. We get time now for board member comments. Anybody have anything to say?
I got one thing. Coming up very shortly,
Go ahead, John.
we're going to be voting on whether or not to keep the members of the board at 24 or 20. Mr. Horstman has done extensive research on keeping it at 24, and I fully agree, as do other members of the board. But we will be voting on the first resolution, and it will have 20 in it. So what we need to do, or what I would like to do, is see it voted down, and we will come back and vote it with 24.
We'll have discussion when we get there, but
I think.
okay. Anybody else? All right, let's go to public visitor comments. I've got a couple from Sauk Valley, Chris Pilling, Emily Bidner. Going to talk to us about Sauk Valley.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for welcoming us here tonight. Hopefully we don't look too haggard as you may have heard.
Can you speak on the mic so we can record it? Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. As you may have heard, we're frantically preparing for special visitors to the college on Monday that will highlight our community in very special ways. So we will try to get through this without struggling too much. But thank you again for having us. My name is Chris Pilling. I'm the executive director at the Sauk Valley College Foundation. I live here in Dixon, and I would not presume to try and educate an intelligent, informed, and committed body as yourself about all the challenges that face our region and that have for many years. You know that population declines are happening at alarming rates. You know that median incomes are lowered. You know that it's hard to find good affordable housing in this area. You know that workforce development or workforce participation is at its lowest since 1977 in this area. And we know that college enrollment has been reduced by 20% since 2010. I think that once the dust settles on COVID-19, those numbers are going to look even worse. So I don't mean to be Debbie Downer in this first part, but we all know what the challenges are that we face, what you folks want to know, and what our community wants to know, because Sauk Valley Community College is your college. I'm sure you want to know what ideas we have to reverse these declines and make things better for everybody. And that's where our Sauk Valley Community College Impact Program comes in. But first, I think we need to look at our strengths. And our strength, we feel and believe strongly, is Sauk Valley Community College. It's right down the road on Route 2, the Princeton on the Prairie, that a lot of people like to call it. We know that our retention rates, so if a student starts in, say, the fall semester, they return in the spring semester, our retention rates are 17% higher than the national average for comparable institutions. Our graduation rate is double the national average. And that's in great part to our amazing student services that help students and families not just when they enter Sauk Valley Community College, but before. So those tell a lot about our strengths. Our reputation is very good in the community. There are community colleges in this country that people don't even want to talk about. That's not the way Sauk is, because of our faculty, our staff, our students, and the great community that supports us. I can't understate the importance of Sauk alumni. On average, NIU did a study a few years ago, and on average, a student who earns a 2-year degree will earn $600,000 more in their lifetime. And Sauk alumni contribute close to $14 million to local economies. So the strengths are there, the hope is there, the promise is there. And we're using the Foundation of National Promise Programs, which Emily will tell you more about here in a second, to create the Sauk Valley Community College Impact Program. So I'll turn it over to Emily for a second to tell you more about that.
Thank you so much, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, we are modeling this program after Promise programs. Currently, there are over 350 Promise programs in the nation. So this isn't something that we've just thought up. We have research from those 350 programs. And from that research, this is what we know. Promise programs improve high school completion rates because now students are seeing that college is available and attainable. So they're no longer stopping after high school graduation. They increase college enrollment. They increase college completion rates. So now students are earning those credentials and they're entering into the workforce, or they are going on to a four-year university. It improves workforce participation. It increases per capita income because now that those students have those credentials to enter the workforce, they are working a college wage job, which allows them more.
Everything.
It decreases student loan default rate because people are taking out less loans. They retain population. People think twice before leaving our area because they know that their students can earn their tuition and fees at Sauk Valley Community College. It increases population. As people know that their students can earn their college, they are more likely to move into the area. And it improves property values and it increases civic engagement. So what do Sauk students get with our impact program? Students are going to earn up to 3 years of tuition and fees at Sauk Valley Community College or until they complete their degree, whichever comes first. So we are allowing students to earn tuition and fees for up to 3 years, but if they're able to complete their degree program in 2, then they're done in the 2 years. We are asking students to do 5 simple things to be eligible for these funds. We are asking students to opt in to the program by September 1st of their freshman year. We are asking that they complete 25 hours of community service each year that they're in high school for a total of 100 hours by the time that they graduate. And then they will continue on with their community service for 25 hours a year while they're at Sauk Valley Community College. We are asking that they progress with the rest of their class or graduate on time or early. And we want them to complete the FAFSA, which is a requirement for high school graduation in the state of Illinois, and that will allow them to secure federal funds that they are already eligible for. And lastly, we are asking that they complete 1 local, state, or national scholarship. And what this does is this teaches our students how to secure additional resources, because we know that 50% of our students are going to go on to a 4-year university and they may not have a earned tuition program available to them. So this will also help them to learn about additional resources so that they don't have to take out as much student loan debt. We have been working with our community leaders. We've been working with our superintendents, principals, and guidance counselors. We've also been working with college leadership, foundation board of directors, and other community stakeholders.
So just to wrap up, we really think this is a game changer for the region. As Emily said, there are close to 350 of these programs in the country and across 47 states. In fact, Tennessee is one big promise program. Every promise program is different. Ours, in fact, is called an impact program because we feel that not only will it make an impact on the region, but these students will make an individual impact, every single student. It's going to impact every available student who comes through, who graduates high school, and keeping in mind that this is still graduation populations. We're hoping with the success of this that we can have an impact 2.0 and start addressing our other underserved population, our non-traditional students who are those who are 24 years of age or older, who are not going to college right out of high school. Right now we're focusing on our high school population graduates, and the impact that will be for the 6 counties. That's a lot of kids. That's a lot of potential for this industry, for industries, for manufacturing, for ag, for healthcare. We're very concerned about the skills gap that exists. These bedrock services, these bedrock industries and businesses, they're not going to stick around forever if they don't have skilled people to fill those positions. And right now they're scrambling. And so we're hoping that this impact program, we believe strongly that it's going to help turn the tide. It's not fairy dust. It's not going to happen overnight. We really wish it would, but we know it's going to take some time. But the program is being developed, as Emily said, in coordination with our communities. So we're not doing this by ourselves. We're doing this with all of you, and we need all of you. We need your input. So if there's something that you didn't understand tonight, or that you have a question about or a concern, we want to know. So we want you to reach out to us. We want to make sure that we hit the ground running in 2026 when that first class, we hope, is going to start at Sauk Valley Community College. So what can you do? You can get the word out. You can be our advocates. We know that, you know, every time you guys are walking around, you're always thinking about education. So that's the first thing on your mind. I know it's not, but if somebody says, hey, what's new? You know, what speakers did you hear about? Or, you know, what can you tell me about what's going on? Sauk Valley Community College Impact Program, that's what's going on. Let me tell you about it. Or let me direct you to svcc.edu/impact so you can get the bullet points that we talked about today. So tell 2, tell 3 people, tell as many people as you can, tell us what we need to do better. And we're not asking for money tonight, but we will be back at a later time, probably later this year, to ask you to consider a line in your budget that will be a gift to the Sauk Valley Community College, that will actually be a gift of endowment, of scholarship, and of hope. So thank you very much for this time. And if anyone has any questions, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Later down in new business, I have wrote 2 letters from the county board. I'd like to read them, and then I need a motion to approve these if everybody agrees with them. It says, to whom it may concern, the Lee County Board fully supports the creation of a Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree program at Sauk Valley Community College. The board recognizes that the implication of this program would be better prepared for those seeking a career in healthcare field to quickly fill vital workforce needs in the Sauk Valley area. Additionally, Sauk Valley Community Bachelor of Science and Nursing degree program would provide graduates with greater credibility, additional options when it comes to the workplace environment and opportunities and advancement and earning potential. The capability of such a program to expand healthcare excellence for Lee County residents is clear, and the Lee County Board enthusiastically supports this initiative for Sauk Valley College. And I also have another letter for the other one. Lee County Board fully supports the creation of the Sauk Valley Community College Impact Program. The board understands that this program will provide up to 3 years of earned tuition and fees towards a certificate or a degree program for all high school students graduating from any of the 6 Sauk Valley Community College districts. The Sauk Valley Community Impact Program was designed in response to the needs of Lee County community and will strengthen the workforce development in the areas by cementing the college completion mindset among both parents and prospective students groups. Additionally, the program will create new intern and job opportunities with local businesses and organizations, bolster the community ties throughout the required community service program component. By the way of this letter, Lee County publicly demonstrates its advocacy for the Sauk Valley Community College Impact Program and will support the college in its endeavor to make this transformative program a reality. Do I have a motion to Tom Kitson? Do I have a second?
So moved.
All those in favor and me sending these letters out, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. This time, Janice McCoy, I think she's got a handout from the Illinois Extension. She'd like to speak to us.
Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Janice McCoy, and I'm the County Director for University of Illinois Extension, serving Carroll, Lee, and Whiteside counties. What we gave you tonight was our annual impact report from 2020, which I won't go through. You all can read that. We also gave you our calendar of events so that you can see everything that's kind of going on in our unit at this time. There's a few other things that we want you to know about. We've been back in our offices for a long time. Obviously, COVID has presented many challenges like it has for everyone in the world. We are moving back into a lot of face-to-face programming as well, with all of the safety protocols that everybody else has as well. We're looking forward to the summer. As you know, last year, our 4-H fair had to be held virtually. And we were rather successful with that in Lee County, to be quite honest with you. But this year, we're really looking forward to being back face-to-face at the fairgrounds. It will most likely look a little different. We'll have to control for numbers and all of those kinds of things, but we're still going to be back in person because we feel like it's the most valuable experience for our kids to be in person at the fair, to have their projects judged. And the kids are looking forward to it, their parents are looking forward to it, and I know everybody in the community is as well. So we're really excited about that. There is a lot going on in Extension, and in the past year, I would like for you to know that when the world sort of shut down, Extension pivoted on that dime, and we moved our educational programming for communities online, literally delivering hundreds of programs virtually over the course of those months, and probably closer to thousands of programs. And we had lots and lots of people. Carla can talk a little bit about that. So I wanted you to know that we've not gone anywhere, and hopefully you've seen us around and heard us a lot in the last year. And we're really looking forward to everything getting kind of back to a little bit more normal. So the fair, because I know everybody loves the fair, is always the last full weekend in July. So we'll get you a schedule as soon as we have that finalized, and you can come on out and take a look at what our kids in our county have been up to. Before I let Carla talk to you, I do want to inform you about some interim duties that Carla and I are taking on for Extension. County directors are supervised by regional directors. Imagine that, there's a system in a big university. And so my supervisor retired at the end of March, lucky him. We'll all get there someday, I hope. And so in his absence, they've asked me to serve as the interim regional director for this part of the state. So that includes 39 counties, with us being the furthest north, and the furthest south county is kind of Jersey County. And so in that time, Carla is gonna also serve as acting county director. So we're gonna work in tandem together to make sure that our unit doesn't miss a beat while we still support our statewide extension system as well. So you'll see both of us quite a bit, but those appointments are initially for 6 months, and hopefully by then our system will be able to move along with a hiring process and what have you. So that's kind of what we'll be doing. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I just want to introduce myself because I haven't been to the board in quite a while. My name's Carla Belzer. I'm a family life educator with Extension. I've been with Extension for 6 years, but prior to coming to Extension, I worked for about 20 years in healthcare, and my whole purpose was to help people live their best lives. So it's very well aligned with the work that we do with Extension. We just get to have a broader impact. So I am a Dixon resident. I have 2 boys, junior hires that are also 4-H members. So we would love to have you all come out and support them at the fair this year. My boys alone were upset that they couldn't have everyone see all the great work that they did in 2020. So definitely encourage you to do that. And I just wanted to note too, Janice said we turned on a dime. Back in March of 2020, we went remote and digital on March 17th, and our very first offering of a virtual program was 9 days later, or 10 days later, 9 days later, on March 26th. And my team alone, from my little dining room here in Dixon, we had programs that not only reached residents of Lee County, residents of Whiteside and Carroll County, but residents in every county of our state, and over 41 states, and even internationally, through doing webinars from our program, all helping people to live their best lives, to adjust to the realities of the pandemic, and to come out the pandemic, the other side of the pandemic, healthy and well. So we're very proud of all the work that we do at Extension. We thank you for your support. And I look forward to serving our community in this temporary role. Any questions?
I guess not. Thank you, Carla, and thank you, Janice. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to committee reports. Jim Wintley's not here tonight. Arlen, you got
You probably think the finance chair is much better looking, but Jim's not here tonight. Anyway, most significant things that were done was we agreed to join AAIMEA. It's a resource for public relations and membership and personnel for $1,900. We approved the salary range for the administrator after much discussion, 80,000 to 125 for the right person. There was a consensus, not unanimous, that the board be reduced in size, and we're going out soon for bids for the audit for next year. Any other questions?
Any questions for Arlen? I have in my notes that we need to approve the treasurer's quarterly report. So I'd entertain a motion to do that. Mr. Kitson and Lyram seconds it. Any discussion about the quarterly report? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Arlen. We'll go to transportation, solid waste, Jim Sheeline.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Lee County Transportation Solid Waste Committee met on Monday at the usual time, and all the usual people were there with one absence. We have to talk about who was absent that day, but that's okay. We did approve the claims, and the main thing to report, and I talked about this in executive, there's a lot of things that we as a county and county government does that's very important, public safety being one of them. The other thing is roads. And I want to talk about our roads a little bit. And there is a report that Bob has and that Dave Anderson provided the committee that we do on a periodic basis. And that's assessing the condition of our county roads, in a very detailed way. And it's called the Pave Report. And I would encourage everyone, like I said, Bob's got a copy of it. I can get a copy to whoever wants one. And it goes through extensive discussion in regards to what our roads are. We're not in terrible shape, but I will tell you that when we talk about our agencies doing more with less, it's really apparent when you look at our county roads. And when you look at the dollars that's been available to our county engineer and his job in maintaining the county roads as best as possible, I think we've had an exemplary litany of county engineers who've done a fabulous job in doing that, and that's more with less. So my report to you, when you have an opportunity to read that report, our condition of our roads has declined slightly. And David is putting together, the information from the Pave Report will be put into place and prioritizing the project that needs to be done over time. But very much encourage you guys to take a look at that. So beyond that, the Big Sky Repower project use agreement was approved, but however, before the project owner signed the agreement, the project was sold, and so that project agreement will be renegotiated, and it will need to come back before the full county board. As far as the solid waste committee is that the electronic recycling project is in full swing. We thought that we had a person to take care of the recycling, and that person didn't work out. So Dave's kind of scrambling in that regard, but it's amazing how much electronics comes into the county every day. This time of year, as soon as that program opens up, there is people lining up, bringing TVs and computers and whatever in. And being a rural resident, I'll tell you how important that project is, because if we didn't have that project, they're in my ditch. And even with the program, I still, I picked up a 40-inch TV the other day, and that's where they end up. I hate to tell you, but that's what happens. So if you ever think, why are we spending the money on having this electronic recycling? That's why. Because if they don't go there, they go elsewhere. So anyway, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Oh, and I'd move the claims.
Yes, we got a second for claims. John Nicholson. All those in favor, pay claims. signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Properties planning and zoning, Dave Bowers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Properties met both March 9th and April 6th. Just some highlights of things that were going on in those 2 months. We did add Ryan Krebs as a maintenance custodial employee for the county the beginning of March. And he's primarily in this building, young man, doing a great job. So if you see him, say hi to Ryan and encourage him. In terms of projects or things that the property's been dealing with, the solar ordinance, the public meetings wrapped up, and we received some comments from board members, from the Farm Bureau, and those have been working with Dee and Alice and myself, and have wrapped those into the ordinance that we'll look at tonight for holding over for next month. But there's been a lot of work that went into that. I think all parties didn't walk away happy, and not that that's our goal, but I think that is a good sign that we hit a good medium. So that did wrap up, and we'll be voting on that later for holding over. In terms of the Voip phone system, the LAN upgrade and the Wi-Fi project, on March 8th, the phone system implemented countywide pretty much. It's up and running, and with only a few minor problems. We're still having some issues with faxes and sending and receiving. So we are having to port a few additional phone numbers and some things like that, some minor cleanup, but by and large, very little problems with the phone. The LAN upgrade, supports the phone, so that's in place. The Wi-Fi network is installed, but not yet programmed, and that's yet to come. So I would like to see that by the end of the month. That might be a little overly optimistic, but it will be coming very shortly. There's 7 access points in this building, where previously I think there were 2 or 3, and there's 17 in the reports building, which is also a big count increase. And Paul Gorski is working with FISIC to get those programmed and up and running. And the one thing I would leave the board with is, and I've gotten consensus with this from the affected parties, but I think the right thing to do is to move the budget for phone and internet to IT. It's now an IT equipment. And I think they're the best ones to steward the invoices to come in and get down to a single phone bill for the county instead of many. And it gives the most power for negotiating good rates in the future. So internet and phone would be one bill to IT, and they would be able to negotiate those in the future. Right now we're signed a 3-year contract for phone service, unlimited domestic calling, and a flat rate. And it's, I think, an attractive situation. So just a recommendation going forward. Third item will be on the agenda here a little bit later, is the tuck pointing of this building. Good news there was the bids. We had 4 bidders. The bids came in about $200,000 lower than our budgetary estimate from 2019. And so that gives us a little bit of room. We also are anticipating a grant of about $250,000 from the Build Illinois program. Mr. Demmer has said that he will submit our project as his first one for this year. We hope to see that money, but we're recommending going forward with this now because of to make sure we get it in the warm weather here. And lastly, animal control. We're looking at, because of the underrun of capital money with the tuck pointing, we're recommending moving up a little bit of the animal control work. We want to do the inside kennels and the outside run and fencing this year. And so that'll be on the agenda a little bit later. So that's all I have, pending any questions.
I've got one, Dave. I got noticed today our internet was down and phones was down. Do you any idea what that cause was of that for an hour or so, counties?
I did not even hear that, so no.
Sure. Good. All right. Any more questions for Dave? No?
Just
So now when the internet goes down, the phones go down. Now, whether that's good or bad is kind of your point of view, but.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Move on to lots, Jim Sheeline.
Yeah, you have the report, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have the report in front of you, and Greg Gates is there in the back, and we have some resolutions. If there's any questions in regards, Greg is there to answer the questions. But interesting report and pretty extensive, and it looks like that we've kind of turned the corner on ridership and from the depths of the COVID debacle. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We'll get to lots later. Maybe we'll have Greg come up and talk to us about that. Administrative Services, Chris Norberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things. Your minutes are in the packet. A couple things I'm going to highlight. Paula is looking at backfilling into her office, which was a position that was already there, tried to get by without it. And after taking on payroll, she's going to have to add somebody. The assessor's office added another MTD this year, leaving only 4 assessors handled by the townships in the county. So she's looking at getting more help. To get more help, we're looking at the recording fees, and we'll be looking at recording fees next month and ad services and whether or not we need to raise them. That's information to come, but that's what we'll be looking at next month. And like I said, everything else is in the packet or will be addressed here later on.
Any questions for Chris? Thanks, Chris. I'm moving to Public Safety, Mike Copine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Safety met April 7th. Meeting was called to order at 9 a.m. Previous meeting minutes were approved as read and written. There wasn't a lot of stuff that had to be gone over. The report is in your packet there. If you have any questions on it, the only thing that I would like to highlight on it, there may have been a question on was the qualified immunity topic that was brought up. The sheriff has advised that that is on hold until the decision is reached by SERMA, and then we'll pick up on that and move forward with it. Other than that, that's all that I have.
Any questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike. Black Hawk Hills Regional Council, John Nicholson.
We had no meeting. It's scheduled for tomorrow night, 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. 911 Board, Keen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addition to the reports that have already been submitted by Director Dallas, there were some topics to highlight, and one was that the garage door is being checked due to leaks at the Emergency Communications Center. Another issue was the Motorola Flex Public Safety Project that come to light that Lee County IT will be involved in that, need to be responsible for that as for the law enforcement center. And all that, also the dispatch training will be held at the ECC by the ETSD IT. Mr. Lally, EMA director, offered the use of the EOC building and spare computers for law enforcement, jail training to work in cooperation with the Lee County IT. Many departments are involved, including Dixon Lee County, ETSD IT, as well as Lee County GIS. Director Dallas also is working with many area businesses, entities, reference to compliance with the 911 location ID. And this, back to the Motorola Flex, be online to go live on November 30th. And next meeting will obviously be May 27th.
Any questions for Keen? Thank you. Tourism, Mr. Palin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Lee County Tourism Council met yesterday. We hope to display our new Z-card advertising to you, but they have been shipped and should arrive within the next few days. The flyer on your desk lists the various coming activities throughout Lee County, including garage sales and pawpaw, vendor expo and Amboy, and the 9th annual Lincoln Highway Car Show in Franklin Grove. And there's another brochure on your desk that was provided by the United States Travel Association, showing that travel was the hardest hit industry in the United States due to the pandemic. And as you all know, the county tourism's only source of income is our share of the hotel motel tax received throughout the county. And as a result, we have been forced to reduce our advertising budget since March of 2020 and hope that we will be able to see an improvement in the months to come. Our share of the hotel motel tax for February was $3,766.32, which is below February receipts for both 2019 and 2020. This concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Bill? How short is that report? $10,000-$12,000, Bill?
Oh, I've got it here.
Normally you're about 14,000 this month or this quarter.
Well, I haven't got the March one, won't have the March ones until
This quarter.
till next month. Let me see it, 20. So far, we've received a little over 7,000 and probably $400. And in 2019, we received about $10,000.
Okay.
For the first 2 months.
We're still lagging way behind.
Yes, we are.
I'm not super psyched, Bill, but I handed out this orange piece of paper and it will show that travel receipts were down 42% in 2020. And, you know, that's a pretty heavy hit for any business. And moving off the hotel motel tax, which is primarily what we did at the hotels, it really puts a cramp in our style. We had been publishing a very nice magazine, couldn't do that. And had to lay one of the girls off the office. She is coming back next month.
Hopefully there's some help coming in this
Right at the
new.
end of the tunnel, I hope, but the problem we've got is the hotel motel tax is generated by people staying at the hotel.
Talking to Mike.
The hotel motel tax is generated by people staying in the hotels and motels, obviously. And the trend has been for people to buy campers. And so we don't get any hotel motel tax off people coming and going. The sales tax may return to close to normal, but we won't return to close to normal because we won't get the hotel motel tax, which is 11% on a stay. It's virtually the same all across the state, but we get the 11%. We split it with Dixon's.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Palin. I'll do the health department report tonight. Katie's not here. Kathy shared 4 bullet points she wanted me to share with the board. The state overall is seeing an increase in cases. Our region is not doing well. The increased cases and hospitalizations are way up. Hospital bed capacity is becoming a concern again. We are seeing younger people getting sick, very sick. We've had 11 residents hospitalized currently, and some are not doing well at all. We need people to get vaccinated and keep distancing and masking for now. We also need people to cooperate with our contact tracers. Illinois and our region are seeing an increase in cases and variant strains. The good news is, after today, more than 18,000 Lee County residents have been vaccinated, and more than 23% of our population will be fully vaccinated. So that's all I have. Any questions? All right. Yes. I'm sorry, Marilyn.
I appreciate the updates that we get. Well, now they're coming Monday and Wednesday and Friday from Kathy. And I share them with several friends who are retired nurses and are very concerned about this. And one of them posed the question to me, could we have a breakdown, of the number of people that have been affected at the prison, at each of the retirement communities? Nightly when we get the report, it says 1 or 2 for prison, or
Yep.
1 from Franklin Grove or 1 from Mabley. And, we don't keep track of those, but I'm sure they do. And this friend asked me, could we have the total number from the prison? Could we have the total number from Mabley, from the prison, et cetera? So
I talked to Kathy today, and I think Jennifer that works there is going to come give us full report at the next board meeting.
okay.
So
It's,
I'll
nothing
mention it to
urgent,
them
but
and-
just point of interest.
Yep, I'll make sure I mention it to them. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how many people read the breakdown in the paper every day, but
I'd like to compliment Kathy Ferguson in the fact that Lee County is only at about a 2% positivity rate versus 8, 9, 12% in one county in our region. So Kathy and the health department has done a good job. I don't, I think we owe her better gratitude for keeping things under
Yes,
wraps.
we do. And I think she's coming in next month, and it'll be a time, hopefully things slow down for her. We can tell her, give her appreciation. Let's move on to Trey County Opportunities Council. Marvin Williams.
I don't think Marvin's on there anymore. He asked me to give the report. In your packet, there's a 11-page Tri-County Opportunities printout. It's pretty solid. I've scanned it all and read it all, and it's pretty self-explanatory. If you have any questions, you can address them with Marvin.
All right. Thanks, John. All right, we'll move down to executive claims. The minutes. UCCI, Doug Farster, I'm sorry. Skip right over you. I didn't know if you had a meeting or not.
Not much of a report to get. There was February, there was a meeting. They never sent out the minutes.
All right.
Asked for them. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. From down there, there was not a March meeting. There will be one coming up, I believe, the end of this month, near the end of Monday. So there will be. I know most of you through your emails see almost daily.
Yeah.
Some come out from McCreary. I mean, it'd be a full-time job to keep up with all the.
Reading the emails, yeah.
Yeah, it's every day, and I go through and try to browse through them and read them. There's a lot of information. Some of it's pertinent to Lee County, some of it isn't.
Yep.
But for right now, everything, of course, I've brought this up before, is in Galena on Eagle Ridge, July 26th and 27th. They're going to have, as of now, the Golf and Education Conference will be held.
Okay, they're gonna have that again then. Huh?
Yeah, they're saying so. I do have paperwork I will bring next month. Certainly left it at home, hurried. So, yeah.
All right.
That's all also. You should have got emails on that, I believe.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Doug? Done. Now I'll go to my executive and claims. Executive, the minutes are in your packet. I need a motion to approve the claims. John Nicholson, Jim Sheeline, seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Also, county officer reports, request for deposit of funds, orders paid in vacation. I need a motion. Tom Kitson, Maryland, seconds it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. We'll go into old business. We had an ordinance establishing a speed zone on Wildcat Road. We held it over since February, the way it looks now. I need a motion. Yep. Jim Sheeline first. Doug Parser seconds it. We're going to do a roll call vote. The speed zone on Wildcat Road.
Roll call, Bob?
Yep, we're going to do roll call on an ordinance.
John Nicholson,
Yes.
Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Bill Palin,
Yes.
Jim Sheeline,
Yes.
Marilyn Shippert,
Yes.
Jack Scrogstad,
Yes.
Mike Zeman,
Yes.
Danielle Allen,
Yes.
Dave Bally,
Dave is gone.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Casey Considine,
Yes.
Doug Farster,
Yes.
Bob Gibler,
Yes.
Jim Horseman,
Yes.
Keen Hudson,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey,
Yes.
Tom Kitson,
Yes.
Mike Copine,
Yes.
Arlen McLean,
Yes.
Lara Mamini,
Yes.
and Bob Olson.
Yes. Ordinance passed. We'll go down to the resolution, the revisions to the zoning and building permit fees. Dave, I'd like you to discuss this a little bit.
Sure. This was discussed previously, but essentially this is to cover the cost of, with the new meeting format and such, we have security and IT extra costs and that, and essentially it's to break even or bring our fees up to support those extra needs. So that's the bottom line.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we pass that.
Dave, and then Marilyn seconds it. I have a roll call vote on this also. Charlie likes roll call.
All right, so Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Bill Palin,
Yes.
Jim Sheeline,
Aye.
Marilyn Shippert,
Yes.
Jack Scrogstad,
Yes.
Mike Zeman,
Yes.
Danielle Allen,
Yes.
Dave Bally is not there.
Is back.
Oh, he's back.
But he doesn't know what the motion is at this time.
The revisions for the zoning building permit fees. We're raising the fees to cover the cost of the meetings.
Correct, I understand, yes.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Casey Considine,
Yes.
Doug Farster,
Yes.
Bob Gibler,
Yes.
Jim Horstman,
Yes.
Keen Hudson,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey,
Yes.
Tom Kitson,
Yes.
Mike Copine,
Yes.
Arlen McLean,
Yes.
Larry Mamini,
Yes.
John Nicholson,
Yes.
Bob Olson.
Yes. Resolution passes. We'll go to COVID policy for employees. I've got Danielle Allen. Do you want to take that?
Yep. So at the beginning of the year, we kind of realized that we needed to extend the COVID pay policy into 2021. But we wanted to make sure that we were, being judicious to the county. So some of the changes that we are recommending with the new COVID pay policy is that the department heads at the monthly admin meeting talk about the number of employees currently out on COVID, and how many times that employee's been out, just so that we can kind of keep track of what we're paying out for the COVID time, and that they will require a letter from the health department saying that they do have to quarantine. And we want to review the policy every quarter.
Do we need any action on this, or do you just change policy out of your committee?
I
We
thought
changed-
it was that we had to have a vote on it. Is that not accurate?
Probably have to have a vote on it.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we approve this policy. It was in here either this month or last month.
It should be in your packet there.
It's the same as it was, what happened last year, and we're just gonna review it quarterly. I'll have the monthly numbers for,
I think it's in March's packet if you look
yeah,
back
it's probably
there.
in March. I'll have the March numbers of COVID quarantines and employees here shortly, and I'll have it sent out to everybody so we are all aware of how many employees we had to quarantine this month, or last month, excuse me.
I don't know where it's at. Do you want to tell us what it is?
Just did.
Okay. I didn't know we were looking for the thing here.
It
So
was in March.
It was in March.
it was in March? Okay, sorry. All right, so I got a first. Do I have a second? Tom Kitson seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. We'll go down to new business. We have an ordinance for petition number 21-P-1560. This ordinance does not have to be held over. It's from the zoning department. It's in your packet. I better read it.
It's on the desk, actually.
It's on their desk, not your packet. Whereas Lee County Board desires to act upon petition number 21-P-1560 by petitioner Jared Zellhofer. The parcel identification number is part of 02-15-26-200-002 and is in Amboy Township. The parcel is zoned Ag 1 agriculture and is approximately 6 acres in size. The petitioner is requesting a map amendment for the purpose of conducting business for construction, agriculture buildings, production steel roofing, lawn care, and landscaping services and general carpenter. Whereas the necessary public hearing was held before the Zoning Board of Appeals, the petition described, which result in a recommendation to approve from the Zoning Board Appeals for petition. Now therefore it be ordained by Lee County Board that petition number 21-P-1560, Jared Zellhofer, be approved by the Lee County Board. I need a motion. Casey, do I got a second? John Nicholson. Any discussion? This is what we voted on earlier. It's just an ordinance. It doesn't have to lay over. We just need it for zoning. So any more Questions, discussion? All right. Better do a roll call on this.
Hold on, I gotta find my name. Bill Palin,
Yes.
Jim Sheeline,
Yes.
Marilyn Shippert,
Yes.
Jack Scrogstad,
Yes.
Marvin Williams,
Muted, Marvin.
Mike Zeman,
Yes.
Danielle Allen,
Yes.
Dave Valley, Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Casey Considine,
Yes.
Doug Farster,
Yes.
Bob Gibler,
Yes.
Jim Horstman,
Yes.
Keen Hudson,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey,
Yes.
Tom Kitson,
Yes.
Mike Copine,
Yes.
Arlen McLean,
Yes.
Lara Mamini,
Yes.
John Nicholson,
Yes.
Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Bob Olson.
Yes. Ordinance passed. We'll move on down. We did the letters of support for Sauk Valley already. Sexual harassment training, Mr. Norberg, you wanna?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So after a long discussion, we wanted a recommendation of how we were going to handle this as county board members and how we were going to address it for department heads. After meeting with the department head meeting, which seems like ages ago, it came to the conclusion that the department heads will handle each of their individual departments and that county board members we're going to ask all county board members to take it. It should take about an hour for you guys to take, print off the certificate and get it to the clerk's office. We will be sending out the email next week, hopefully, Becky, to all of us to complete this. There's no timetable that you have to get it completed by, so just get it done by the end of the year. And that's what our recommendation out of Ad Services is.
All right.
Casey's looking at me like he hates me right now.
AC, you want to share anything? All right. Any questions for Chris? Go ahead, Larry.
I've completed mine through the college and through my businesses. We have to for insurance purposes. And they told us that it should work for the
Certificate on
client. We're here to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it will. If you can get that certificate that you have already completed, like if you got one at work or one through the college, whatever it may be, bring those certificates in. They're going to be collected and kept at the clerk's office. So if you have to for a previous job or I don't see a reason why we have to overlay.
Isn't this coming off of AIM?
No, I think we're going to just use the county or the state one this year.
All right. Marilyn.
If we did it previously, do we have to redo it for this year?
Every year. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So hopefully now that we have a protocol, we'll try to get this done in January and February. So we have a deadline.
When you get them done, we'll send them to Becky and she'll keep them for records.
Oh, Becky's.
I thought they were gonna
Nope.
be held in
They're going to be held in the clerk's office, we decided.
Okay.
the county board, right?
The county board ones will be held at the clerk's office, so get it to Nancy.
Danielle, did you have something?
I just wanted to confirm, I think we said no per diem, right? We were doing this free of charge.
Yes, so that was another discussion. We are not going to get paid per diem. Sit at home and get it done. So there you go.
Any more discussion? All right, we don't need any action on that, just informational. Thank you. All right. Move on to approval of the award of the old Lee County Courthouse tuck pointing contract we talked about earlier. I think we're coming 250,000 cheaper than we anticipated through capital. And it's going to be paid mostly all through a grant with Tom Dimmer's help in it. So I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Dave, Mike seconds it. Mike Copine. Any discussion about it? Yes. Doug.
Mr. Chairman, are we sure that we're going to get this grant? We are going to receive it?
So
Yeah, the dimmer.
I don't think you can be sure of it until you have it in hand.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah,
I'm
the
curious.
reason for moving forward is that regardless if the work is budgeted and we're within the budget, and this will assure us of getting it done. We have a pretty good indication that we'll get the grant, but no, to answer your question, we're not sure, but we would still stay in budget.
Pretty sure. How's that?
Okay, that's why I was curious. It's a pretty good chunk of money, so.
Yes, so originally it was gonna be 500. I think we budgeted 550.
500.
450, 500. So when it come in at
15.
215, we thought we were gonna put 250 in anyhow, so we might as well go ahead with it. And hopefully Tom Dimmer comes through with the money anyhow, and we're ahead of the game. So,
Thank you.
you bet. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Wait a minute, who made them? Dave, okay. And Michael, sorry, I got lost.
Okay, all right. All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Animal control, inside and outside kennel projects. Mr. Bowers, you want to give us some background?
Sure. We had budgeted this year doing some inside kennel work, and we have what we had planned. We were short about, I think, $1,400. Finance did approve that last month, and we have started that work. And then with this underrun on capital, we are asking really to move the outside work, which we would plan in 2021, so that we have more functional. The idea is inside kennels, there would be what they call a guillotine door to an outside kennel. It allows them for aggressive dogs to push them outside and clean the kennel, allows them to let the dogs run outside. So there'll be kennels outside, concrete slab poured in kennels outside, and also fencing the large area for a run for the dogs, and a little bit of sidewalk work. So that work comes in at right 21,000-ish, and we would like to move that forward into 2021 because of the underrun. So that's the request, and I would make that motion.
John seconds it. John Nicholson. We got some discussion yet. Why we're dealing with it tonight, it's unclear. I think finance pushed it to executive, and then I don't think we've got a clear, so I think we need a full board vote to clarify it so we can pay it, I guess.
Mr. Olson Valley's got a question.
Yes, Mr. Bally.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry I wasn't in on the meeting last Tuesday. I was an election judge. But I was talking to my son who handles dogs and stuff, and about the kennels and what would be best and everything else. And we started talking about how many animals and everything like that. And he goes, what kind of a business model can cover all this cost for the few animals that we hold? We have building fees, licensing, liabilities. We're hiring extra help. I talked to the committee in March and said something about maybe we could rent out extra kennels and recoup some of our income, but it's how can, unless our constituents want us to hold animals indefinitely to help, or how much do we want to pay to hold animals, and what are our options? I have talked to other counties, and they like to have a place they can bring them into immediately, but my understanding is shortly after animals come in, they go to the vet, and then we'd be coming back and just holding them. So animal control and animal care are two different things. And the cost of this building is animal care. I just have some questions on it, and I'm sorry I haven't been more adept at keeping up with things lately, but I think things should be looked into a little more here before we go forward with a lot more cost on this thing. Another 20-some thousand. And we don't know for sure that we won't find something else in the tuck pointing that would be expensive. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. John Nicholson? Talking to your mic if you're gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay.
Well, I truly feel that animal control is one of the few self-funding departments we have in this county, and they basically cover their costs. This is something that's necessary. Get these kennels that are rotting away. I've been down there and looked at them along with Mr. Bowers. So we do need to replace them, and I think the outside run will greatly enhance our animal control departments. And they pay for it. We fund very little out of it.
I think the theory is we're doing the inside, we might as well do it all and do it right, and be done with it.
Between tags and fees and so on. So
We don't see any other major expenses in the 5-year plan for out there. We're just trying to clean it up and get it all done at once.
Sure. Mr. McLean.
The question I brought up when we talked about it in finance was, are we limiting the building for, we only know our constituents, what we can do so far. What if we had to sell the building? Would that decrease the value of the building? Because the only thing you could do with it is doing dogs. And you could contract dogs out. We've done it previously and other counties do. I know at least one facility now that is really bad financial shape, and they'd love to probably take dogs in. I haven't negotiated that, but I just wonder if we're decreasing our value by putting too much money in a specialized building.
Have to go to Dave to answer that.
I don't think that, I understand what you're saying, and could it have a slight impact? Maybe, but I don't, if somebody's interested in that property, that's not gonna make a big difference one way or the other. I think the discussion we're having, there's been a decision made, we have animal control, and we need to support keeping it upgraded. I think the discussion we're having is more a budgetary long-term discussion. I respectfully say, let's vote on this and then deal with that at your time. That may be something that comes down the road, but right now we need to fix this. We just do.
Marilyn had a question.
Just a comment, people are mentioning maybe having the kennels used for somebody possibly boarding an animal or whatever. We have no idea what our flow is in and out daily. Sometimes she has none, sometimes she's full. That's, we just can't occupy those kennels for something else.
One of the things I've learned from properties with animal control is I had no idea what all animal control gets involved with in just the livestock area and things like that, wellness calls and things that I had no idea that they had to deal with. Their plate, and Terry's pretty quiet, does not toot her own horn, but they have a lot on their plate and they do a good job. And not perfect, but good. And I think this would support her in protecting the staff from aggressive dogs and protecting the dogs so that the kennels are properly kept and clean.
Mr. Kitson.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. I met with them at budget time, and those kennels, I believe, were used when we put them in there. They definitely are in bad shape. I think we have two issues. Do we really want to have that building someday in the future? But today, we need to take care of the equipment we have. It was in the budget. Most of it was.
Yeah.
When we set this up, and I think we need to fulfill what we agreed to do at budget time.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. My comment, I guess, is following up with what Tom just said. I believe that the first part of the project was in the budget. The second part is unbudgeted, and perhaps maybe we need to split this into two votes. I don't want to make any more work, but if there's some people that feel more comfortable voting for something that was already budgeted versus the stuff that's over and above the budget.
We've already approved.
Yeah, for this year.
Yeah. Marilyn.
We don't need to vote on the part that was budgeted, and the overage is not that much, but it has to come before the board because it is an overage. Dave or Tom, what was the amount of this thing being over?
I think it was $1,400. It's in the minutes here, $1,400.
I mean, it's not a significant amount.
1,400 or
No,
14,000?
no, 1,400. Now the amount we're trying to pull forward is about 21,000.
We've got a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought it was 14,000.
No. We were, yeah.
Call for the question.
Call for the vote. I think we better do this roll call vote.
And this is for both of them?
This is for both of them. The motion was for both of them.
Jim Sheeline,
Aye.
yes or no? Oh. aye, okay. Aye. Marilyn Shippert,
Yes.
Jack Scrogstad,
Yes.
Mike Zeman,
Yes.
Danielle Allen,
Yes.
Dave Valley,
No.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Casey Considine,
Yes.
Doug Farster,
Yes.
Bob Gibler,
Yes.
Jim Horstman,
Yes.
Keen Hudson,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey,
Yep.
Tom Kitson,
Yes.
Mike Copine,
Yes.
Arlen McLean, Larry Mamini,
Yes.
John Nicholson,
Yes.
Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Bill Palin,
Yes.
and Bob Olson.
Yes. It's like motion passed.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you. All right, let's go move on down. We got the county administrator job description. Hold over till May. We got an ordinance. Let's get a first and second, then we'll discuss it. Do we have a first? Tom Kitson, Chris Norberg seconds it. Any discussion about the job description for the county administrator?
I just want to thank Mr. Horstman for all the efforts that he put into it. We built upon what the previous administrator job description was, and he added in a significant amount about HR. And I also thank finance that we'll talk here shortly about the salary range. It is a very wide open job description and qualifications to do it. So the hiring committee is able to find the best candidate for us. So thank you, guys.
Any more discussion? If everybody's comfortable with a voice vote, we'll do a voice vote unless somebody requests otherwise. All right. All those in favor of laying the ordinance over till May, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ordinance motion carries for the ordinance. Now we're going to move to the administrator's salary. Let's get a motion on the floor in a second, and then we'll discuss it. Chris first, John Nicholson seconds it. Any discussion? Chris, you want to give us what the salary range is?
Yeah, so for the salary range, the finance committee recommended 80,000 to 125,000. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe Whiteside County and the UCSCI recommendation for the salary range for an administrator was 82 to 119. So wide range, so we can pull off whichever candidate is necessary that the committee can move forward with. So that's how we came up with that number.
All right, any questions? Everybody comfortable with voice vote? All those in favor of the set, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Resolution, the revision of employee handbook, Chris? Or Danielle, you wanna, either one? Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve this.
A second? Danielle seconds it. Any discussion?
Again, I appreciate Paula and Wendy's work on all this book, Mr. Horstman as well, and all the Ed Service Committee. There's a lot of time and effort put into this. I think we have a much better handbook. And as soon as we get this done, we'll have AIM look at it and continue to move forward with the handbook to make it more available to our employees. So is there any specific questions about any of the topics in the handbook?
If none, we got a first and second. Let's go ahead and vote on it, the revision. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now we go to the resolution for the membership size of the board. I think it's 20 in the resolution we have currently. Is that correct?
There's the 20 and a 24.
Okay, there's a 20 and a 24. So I guess Dave Bowers.
You need a motion?
Yep.
Which one?
For which one? 20? I got a motion for 20. Laram seconds it. Okay. Any discussion with a motion on the floor for 20? John, go ahead.
I've handed out several things that Mr. Horstman put together, did a very analytical job on why we should keep the board at the same size. there's been talk come up with the fact that different counties with an administrator can function with fewer people, but our two nearest counties in this area, Ogle County has had administrators off and on, still has a board of 28 people. And Whiteside, who has an administrator and 3 assistants, if I recall correctly, still has a board membership of 29. I fully believe that if we kept the board at 24, this would give the chairman the ability to create good committees using the diversity of the board. And it would give the county committee chairman the ability to assign out duties within their committee and realize fully that the job's going to get done. So I would like to see the motion that we have here with 20 on the board declined and come back and have 24 in that position.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to take this time to give my reasons why I'll be voting yes for this resolution. Actually, if the resolution was for 18 board members, I'd be voting yes for that as well. I had spent 31 years, most of you may know this, or hopefully you all know this, that I spent 31 years as an employee for Lee County in the Sheriff's Department. And during those years, I had become a critic of the Lee County Board. From an employee perspective, it seemed like whether it be Sheriff Bibbins, Sheriff Farga, or Sheriff Simonton, the Lee County Board was demanding its employees to do more with less. Mr. Sheeline had made a comment about that. Apparently, it resonated back 31 years ago when I was working. So I'm sure if you was to ask a seasoned Lee County employee of at least 10 years or more, they would agree with that statement. So I'm here today as part of that body and still being a critic, but yet instead of complaining about it, I'm going to try and do something about it. That's why I'm voicing my opinion today. I have noticed over the years that most board members, past and present, are actively participating of what a county board member should be doing. I have said this before, and by popular demand, I'm going to say it again. If you had a soccer team and you had 24 players on that field, you would have about 16 of those players actively participating in the game, passing, defense, running up and down, and being leaders. Then whether you got those other 8 or 6 that are looking in the clouds and picking dandelions. Those 8 or 6 still wear the team uniform, show up for pictures, actually show up for the game, and even go out for pizza afterwards. Yet they do not contribute as part of the team. Maybe that's why they're only supposed to be 11 players for each team on the field. Now I've been outspoken about my support for this resolution, and I've spoken to some administrators and few county board members, and they all agree that there are board members that are, I call, passive. However, 100% of those people that I've spoken to say that reducing the board member does not guarantee that the next election would weed out those passive members. And that is a very good possibility that an active board member would not be reelected. You see, an election is basically a popularity contest. If you believe that you're an active board member and you are faced off by a passive board member, then you're going to have to run a campaign. Like any other election, spread the word around to the people why they should vote for you and not the other. If that passive member is still elected, maybe they should chair a committee or some type of leadership role. For clarification, I want to give my definition of what an active board member. Now, these are not necessarily limited to just these lists, but being prepared for a meeting, reading the agenda, reading through all the packet of information before the meeting, knowing what you're voting on. And if you don't know what you're voting on, educate yourself. So that way you may form your own opinion. This means not going to, this means that you're not going to vote a certain way that another county board member voted. Like for instance, Mr. Horstman and I'm sure we do not agree on the same issue. But I believe Mr. Horstman and myself, we come to a conclusion that we gain our own opinion. And that's what we need. We need in this board our own opinions, not based on somebody else's. As a board member, you should strive to be a chair or a vice chair. I think you should want to do that. Ask questions. Maybe ask questions not in an open meeting, but if it's a simple question, you just go and call somebody and find out what the answer is. Attend meetings, be open-minded, volunteer, and stay awake. The definition of passive is the opposite of all that. This was a comment that was made earlier that reducing the board would limit the chances of people being involved in a local government. My quick response to that, for those people desiring to be involved in the local government, run. Run an election. Run for that spot. Campaign for that post. Go out there, work for the vote. Get your name out there. Make a statement, who you are, what you are, and stand for it. And then stand by your words. And I want to make one last comment. I said earlier that as an employee, I felt the county board asked their employees to do more with less. Well, I think as a board, we need to practice what we preach. Thank you.
Amen. Well said, Mr. Coxon. Any more comments?
Mr. Bally.
Mr. Valley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I agree with John on some of these issues. I also some issues that were just spoken, but let's see. With administrator, we should have a much better setup. But I have become very impressed with most of these board members and what they bring, the individual parts that they bring to the board, and could be a great asset to an administrator. I also have looked at studies and have shown that with the loss of our local newspaper, counties have been become more expensive. They get a little bit overboard on things, and by having more representative to more people, we get more input out to the people and in from the people. So, and some of the lowest vote getters that I've seen are most valuable to our county. Not everybody can be a chair or vice chair. If you're coming on every 2 years or new people coming in, you probably shouldn't start as you should get your 2 years in before you get too vocal. So, you never want to have less than 5 on a committee. So as far as a money saving, you're going to have, unless you cut the committees down, you're going to have 25 people, or you're going to have to, if you double up people, you're just going to have the same cost. So I see no reason to lower it. Like I say, I'm very impressed with so many on the board and their input. I'd like to see it stay where it is, and that would be my vote.
Thank you, Mr. Valley.
Thank you.
As a chair, if we get once every 10 years to vote on the number of board members, so that's why it's so important tonight. We need to look out the next 10 years. I think some of the committees can be combined. Just throwing that out there. If we do go down to 20, I think we need to restructure at that point, and then we also have, we need to hire a strong administrator. 24 is cumbersome to contact, and I apologize because I don't contact everybody. There's people like Mr. Zeman, I haven't made a personal call yet, but I mean, there's a lot of people you've got to contact when we're doing this. I don't know if 20 is the number, but that's just my opinion. If we get a strong administrator and we can find a couple committees, move things around, I think we could probably make it run smoother. Just my opinion. Mr. Valley.
Two things, just from perspective.
Sorry.
Two things just for perspective. When I first came on the board about 2 years in, I went to one summer to a UCCI leadership camp, sponsored by UCCI, of course. And the advantage I had in that experience was it was from counties all around the state. And you had counties that were many, many times our size and some that were much smaller all over. And we were definitely one of the largest boards in all of those counties. Even those with much larger populations. One data point. The other data point, I come from Exelon and ComEd when I was first hired there, and we went through deregulation. We went from a pass on the expenses to the public. We were a regulated utility, so it was a cost plus business, and we went to a deregulated atmosphere, and the employee count went down by about a third. And we figured out how to run that business profitably, more profitably, and serve the customers probably better than we did before, and ran a safer and more productive unit. It just can be done. I think 24 is a large number. We've got 4 districts, right? And this would still allow us 5 representatives from each district. Personally, I'd like to see it smaller, but I think the number that's being proposed is 20, and I think that's a reasonable step towards smaller.
More discussion?
I think, Bob, 10 years ago when we did the same thing, we did reduce by 2 committees. We combined 2 committees. And so it was reduced for the reason we came down from 28 to 24. And several members said, no, we don't want to get any smaller than that.
Up for the question.
All right, I think we better do a roll call on this one. Becky?
Okay. And this is for 20, right?
20. This is voting on 20, reducing it to the size of 20. Go ahead.
To clarify, a yes vote is a yes for 20.
Yes, that'd be correct.
Marilyn Schiffer,
Yes.
Jack Scrogstad,
Yes.
Mike Zeman,
No.
Danielle Allen,
Yes.
Dave Bally,
No.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Casey Considine,
Yes.
Doug Farster,
Yes.
Bob Gebler,
No.
Jim Horstman,
No.
Dean Hudson,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey,
Yes.
Tom Kitson,
Yes.
Mike Copine,
No.
Arlen McLean,
Yes.
Larry Mamini,
Yes.
John Nicholson,
No.
Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Bill Palin,
No.
Jim Sheeline,
Yes.
Bob Olson.
Yes.
Sorry, I forgot.
You want to give us your tally?
So it's 14 yes, 7 no.
All right. Motion passed to 20. Looks like it's going to be, and I think also then we have to redo the districts. I think Nancy will be working on that and, to make sure we're equal, right, John, or how's?
CCI has a meeting coming up in some of the
Okay.
district and I'll be back.
All right. So the resolution passed, 20. The next one is the ordinance amending and the regulating development of solar energy systems. We're gonna hold it over till May. First of all, I want to thank the committee to work on it and Mr. Bowers. I mean, it was a contentious meetings at that. I don't think everybody got everything they wanted. But at least we, at the end of the day, we got something that's workable. And I want to thank Mr. Horstman. I haven't done personally, but I mean, he cleaned up a lot of verbiage and very good at what he does. So with that, let's get a motion out there. Mr. Sheeline, do you want to make a motion? All right.
Wow. I'll make a second. I'm not done yet, Dave.
He's got a ways to go. So, do I have a second? John Nicholson seconds it. Or Chris Norberg seconds. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, any discussion, Mr. Sheeline?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll try to get through this as quickly as can and as pain-free as possible. First of all, I also want to thank the Solar Ordinance Committee. You know, putting these together are extremely difficult. You know, you have competing interests, and in the case of these kind of things, not only do you have 2 sides, you have 3, 4 sides that come before, and you know it's balance. It's a balancing act. So I want everybody to understand that my comments that I'm going to proceed with is going to sound very critical, but it's going to be coming, and I want you to understand that, you know, as a landowner and as a farmer and as things change, you know, I'm looking at this not only from what we are passing tonight, but sometimes the unintended consequences of what we do, because this kind of stuff has very direct impacts on people's livelihoods, their incomes, and their property, and that goes on both sides. So I want to preface that comment. I also want to preface the comment because, as you guys all know, I am a participant in have an existing contract with a solar farm. The one comment that I want to have in that regard is that there's been comments that I've heard people say, well, industry has signed off on this. Well, that's great and wonderful, but me as a landowner, I had to negotiate our contract, which was very difficult. We had a committee of guys that got together.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. If he's going to speak as a landowner, then I think all landowners should be allowed to speak in this. If he has a comment as a board member related to something, then I would like to hear that. Otherwise, I'd like to point of order.
Mr. Scrogstad, you're my Robert's Rules guy. You didn't know that until just now. Where do we go from here?
No, I think Mr. Casey's right on that.
All right. Mr. Sheeline?
How do you want me to proceed, Mr. Chairman? I'm speaking as a landowner, but also as a county board member that has a vote at this table.
I'd speak as a board member.
Okay. So, all right. So as a board member, I look at how this affects my constituents. And I have many constituents, of course, in District 1 that are going to have the opportunity to participate in solar farms. So you know, how do you balance these things out? So as we look at the solar ordinance, under definitions, point 1, the applicant is any entity. And what that means is that you know, it can be a solar company, it can be, but it also can be a single individual. So under the way this ordinance is written, there's no differentiation between a large corporation or as an individual farmer or individual landowner. And that's a concern because as we go through, as you take a look at the ordinance, there incurs very specific costs when you group everything together. So also under definitions, you know, going further on that, point 5, no differentiation between a large 5,000 acre solar farm or a farmer putting in a 3-acre array. And these things are going on right now. And if I'd ask our super duper IT guy if he could put up my some pictures, because I want the board to see what is happening. Okay, we'll get to that one. So this farm is in DeKalb County, and I apologize. You might want to scroll through those. So this is a solar array that is in DeKalb County and is adjacent to a livestock operation and a grain farm. So this is, I estimate it as about a 3-acre array. So when the significance of this is that the way that this ordinance reads tonight, it's one panel. So this array would be contingent on this ordinance and have to follow that ordinance. So that we would require a fence. All the setbacks would be required under this thing. There is no differentiation between what this farmer did here, which is in conjunction with his grain and livestock operation, and the ordinance that we're putting into place. Now, you can respond. Hold on, Mr. Norberg. So, and part of the reason why, you know, and I think there was a little bit of an attempt to get that language to differentiate a little bit by putting in the word commercial. Dee understands the difference. Dee and I have had these conversations. The only problem is I'm concerned with when you put in the word commercial, every single one of these solar arrays sells the electricity to the utility. It's not used directly to run that farm. So it is sold into the marketplace. So by definition, every single one of these solar arrays, no matter what their size, even if it's a rooftop thing, it's a commercial enterprise. So we really need to be clear and careful of the language that we use so that we understand what we're trying to do. And I have a little concern in regards, and I understand what the intent was, David, and I get it completely, but there's concern there because I think we're creating disincentives for this type of thing to go on. The setbacks. So I have struggled back and forth with the setbacks and how that's going to affect development and how that affects my constituents and people that are looking at that. I also, again, want this body to understand, because it sounds like we talk about simple things like 400 feet and 200 feet and this and that. We're talking about 800 foot by 800 foot square here. That's 14.7 acres. That's 640,000 square feet. A typical city block is 300 feet by 660 feet or 217,800 square feet, or 5 acres. So when we talk about an 800 foot by 800 foot square, we're talking about 3 city blocks. And I ask you, we don't have setbacks like this practically for anything else. And so what's going to happen? With windmills.
Hold on,
Yep,
now,
yeah.
one thing,
Sure.
because not everybody's as familiar as you and I are, 800 foot square, that's exactly the acreage. But some of that is owned by the people. Some of that is not owned by the developer. So it varies depending on where you're
yes.
talking, but it's not all give up.
No, I'm glad you pointed that out, David. That's a fair point. Yep. And some of those non-participating residents can be as little as 2 acres. It can be as much as like my place, where I live it's a 4 acre lot because that's the way the farmstead is. So, but this affects every one of them. And every one of them we're talking 14.7 acres and 3 city blocks. I mean, that's, so what's going to happen with those type of setbacks is that you're going to have, and because we don't make a differentiation between where that non-participating residence is, those setbacks are going to cross roads because we don't say the road is. So just like I'm tooling down Route 30 and I'm seeing homestead after homestead, and I was picturing in my mind what those setbacks would appear to. And what happens is, and I think this is one of the unintended consequences, is that we're going to create small parcels that are going to be across the roads, that are going to be small. They're not going to be really farmable. They're going to create, Wendy's going to have to create parcel numbers separate on those small parcels, because when these solar farms go in, because of the way they're taxed, Wendy has to create a parcel number for every single one of those. So there's going to be these creation of these small parcels that will have to be tracked. And then you're going to have the case of, well, what's going to happen with those and what's the landowner going to do with those? Well, if they're small enough, they're not going to get farmed. They're going to, who knows what's going to happen with them. So it's going to create a problem, not only for the county, because you're talking about the attractiveness and of what's going on, but you're putting a pretty strong burden onto the landowner. And also, when we talk about property rights and property values, there's no question that there's going to be a decrease in property values. There's just not. Every time, and I understand that every time we make zoning decisions, that happens. I mean, that's almost always one of the tough things in regards to zoning, is that the decisions that we make have real impacts on people. One of the things that I think is also going to be an unintended consequence to this, because as we go on and as the state with its drive to have, whether we do 50 50% generation of renewables by 50 or whatever the state government's going to do. The more setbacks that we have, actually, if you're a person who has concerns in regards to the preservation of traditional farming, the more setbacks you're going to have, the renewable energy companies are going to be asking for more acres. So you're actually going to be taking up, in essence, more ground because they're looking at one thing and one thing only, and that's megawatt generation. So if they're wanting to have a 500 megawatt generation farm, it's going to take X number of acres. And if you have a large amount of setbacks in there, it's going to take more farm ground. The one thing also that's contained in that I hope you guys realize, and I don't know whether, and I guess I'll get our state's attorney, that really concerns me. I've never seen an ordinance that basically creates a payment plan. Now we have, and that's what this does. On page 4 and 5.1 and 2, the section provides options for an adjacent landowner to choose from, but also two options to choose from, option A, option B. But then there's a third thing that gets thrown in there, and that's point 2, which creates the requirement that if neither of the options are chosen, the applicant must write a check in the value equivalent to the cost of option 1. Now, this was a concept that was promoted by Bruce Forrester for adjoining parties to come together on a voluntary basis and be creative in resolving conflicts. I just don't, I don't know whether or not it's even constitutional for this body to say to two private entities to say, you're going to give money to this guy. And that's what that does. It's one thing to create screening that for us to regulate, but this goes way beyond regulation. This is saying you give money to him. And I don't know if that's where I want to be as a government. Page 6 in paragraph E, the first sentence goes on and it talks about different things. And I really ask, and I want to read that. Because here, the course of in looking at this, and I kept asking the question when I was part of the committee, is that what are we really talking about here? Due to the unique nature and special requirements of a solar SCS system, and the potential impacts of an SES on adjoining properties and government services. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. You know, there was testimony in different zoning hearings in regards to property values, and I had heard discussion over regards to what happens in there. You know, solar farms are new enough that there is not a lot of data. There just hasn't been enough of them. We do have real good data on wind energy projects. And there's been a lot of discussion in regards to what happens to adjoining property values in regards to location of wind power. And that data is pretty clear, that there's really no net effect. And I have a chart there if you're interested in seeing that shows that net effect. Now, in all this, I'm going to vote no on this. Now, here's what you're going to be surprised with. I'm not encouraging you guys to vote no, because actually this ordinance is superior than what we're operating under now. Because what we're doing, operating under now, is basically a moratorium without calling it a moratorium. The 300-foot setback from adjoining property lines is a moratorium. Nobody can live with that. I couldn't live with that. It can't do it. What I am asking is that the chairman continues to keep the committee together. And as we go forward, as Dave and I had multiple discussions on this, this needs to be a living document, not the end document. Because as we all gather more experience, because this is change, there's no question about it. But as we go down this path and understanding change, we have to be flexible as a board as well. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience.
Strawberry.
I'd like to call the roll call vote on this.
I guess I'd like to thank the committee for their work and their time they put into it. I think there's probably been a lot of input into this, and I guess I don't have a stance either way. My sole concern is that the very last paragraph of this basically gives a free pass to the LISA score, which is a direct conflict with our comprehensive plan. It's very clear, I believe, in our comprehensive plan that the LISA score is very important for development in the county. And I guess this just bypasses that. And so in my mind, it looks like it's the tail wagging the dog. And that's where I have a concern. I'm not here to argue whether the setbacks are too rigid or not, stringent enough. It's just simply, I think that we need to reestablish our long-term comprehensive plan and find out once and for all what we want in the county, where we want to put it. And so for that reason, I'll be voting no.
Mr. Bally.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, under the new ordinance or so, I mean, I would lose the right to put solar on my own property because I couldn't stay far enough from another person's house, even though I only have 2.5 acres. And although I only have a few panels next to the house, there'll only be a few panels within these guidelines. I talked to a Farm Bureau guy from Oak County, and the best quote I ever heard is, if the view across my land is so valuable, then why don't the neighbors pay me for it? If something you don't like, you put up your own fencing or your own wall. And if this goes through, in the future, do landowners have the right to stop a building within so far of their property lands because if somebody builds within so far of my property line, they have a right to my property. They have some control over it just because they put a thing in, a foundation in. So would I not, as a landowner, have the right to disagree with any going forward within the area of my property thing? And I'm for solar. I don't think we need amendments that are this great, but it's as good as we get, I guess, right now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Bally. Any more discussion? Mike Copine?
I'm not, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to draw it out, but one particular situation that I don't understand, that I don't feel was the offer of the Solar Ad Hoc Committee was a payment plan. If I remember right, by the applicant, the scenario was offered for those who didn't want anything put up, they would be allowed certain dollar amount comparable to what they would put in for their own buffering. So I don't understand the comment on the payment plan. Number two, we have just given a participant the opportunity to speak to the board, to tell the board how he feels, because he's an applicant. I feel, to be fair, we need to extend the same amount of time to a non-participant. And I don't know if any of you are aware, excuse me, there was another situation that has occurred just recently. A non-participant has sold out and left because of the rigmarole that goes on a lot of this negotiation. I don't feel that we're obligated as an ad hoc committee or a county board to extend outside negotiation on what is intended to be a Lee County ordinance. It's Lee County's ordinance, not an applicant's ordinance, not another county's ordinance. It's Lee County's. We established that because we feel that's what's fair. And I think it's very unfair to allow an applicant to speak to the county board without a non-applicant giving the same amount of time.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to intervene there. We're going down a path that we don't need to be going down right
Yeah,
now.
let's just keep this. I agree with you, Mike, and we shut them down as soon as we could. So I think we're moving forward. Mr. Sheeline, do you have anything more to say?
So I want to be clear, I am not an applicant. I am a landowner, a tax-paying landowner of Lee County, of which I am also a member of this board. And whether I have a contract with a different entity is really kind of irrelevant. I am not an applicant. I am a farmer.
You have never been referred to as an applicant, Mr. Sheeline. You are a participant, okay?
Let's just.
Is there a difference between a participant and an applicant? Okay? Absolutely, okay. I apologize, Mr. Chair. Let's continue on.
You're fine. I think the intent of the chair is to reconvene the committee. And I think we actually do need two ordinances for a smaller scale and a larger scale. Where that divide is, I'll let that up to the committee to decide. But I think at the end of the day, when this is not perfect document, but it's a step forward. And at the end of the day, we'll end up with a larger scale and a smaller scale ordinance. I think that would be more appropriate. But want to call for a vote? Mr. Nicholson calls for a vote. Let's do a roll call vote, Becky. Okay, a vote yes is to lay this ordinance over till May. So everybody understands.
Okay.
Yes.
Explain again, what are we, the vote yes or no, what it means?
A vote yes is to lay the ordinance over till May. A vote no is to stop the ordinance and leave the ordinance in place that we have now. Is that clear? Clarified enough? Charlie, you want part of that? Okay.
Okay. Jack Scrogstad,
Yes.
Mike Zeman,
No.
Danielle Allen,
Yes.
Dave Valley,
No.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Casey Considine,
Yes.
Doug Farster,
Yes.
Bob Gibler,
No.
Jim Horstman,
Yes.
Keen Hudson,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey,
No.
Tom Kitson,
Yes.
Mike Copine,
Yes.
Arlen McLean,
Oh.
Lara Mamini,
No.
John Nicholson,
Yes.
Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Bill Palin, Bill,
Muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
He's muted.
you're muted, Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. Jim Sheeline. Jim?
And is appropriate, is it in order that I call for the
Yes or no
vote
vote would be.
as it is right now?
Yep.
Guys, I'm wanting this to pass, so that's why I'm asking. I'm showing 11, so no, I think I'm okay.
Marilyn Shippert.
Yes.
Bob Olson.
Yes. Just to know why she's tabulating. If we ever bring any visuals or anything, and I'm not coming down on Jim, but share them with me or Charlie before we get into the meeting so we can okay them and make sure that it's relevant to what we're doing. And I'm not, what you did was relevant, but I just want to see the handouts or something we're going to put on the board before we see them, me or the chair or Charlie. Would that be appropriate?
What, like pictures?
Yep. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'd like a copy of those and included in our minutes because they are part of this. So I'd like a copy of those. And also this was just voted to help hold over. So in the next vote, we don't have to vote. We can opposite vote of what we voted today, just for clarity for the rest of the board.
What was the vote?
14 yes, 7 no's.
All right. So we voted to hold over to May. All righty. Let's go to the resolution, zoning board of appeals meeting dates for fiscal year 2021. Mr. Norbert first. Do we have a second? John Nicholson, seconds. Any discussion? I think it's pretty straightforward. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Resolution pass. The ordinance, amending ordinance number 12-15-001, amending the boundaries of Lee County Enterprise Zone. Amendment 13 to Addendum A, Lee County, Lee Ogle Enterprise Zone, description of for recording. Amendment 13 to Amendment B. I guess Andy Shaw is probably with us. Andy, do you want to share anything with us?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, what we've got here is an amendment to the zone map. What this does in this one is for some big housing projects that we want to support with the incentive. They're in the city of Dixon and the city of Oregon with this. It's the same developer that's gonna look to build 134 total housing units in the two cities in 3 different areas that are on the map there that are in that amendment. So we're with this one, we're thinking it's not quite like adding a city or a certain industrial site where it'll be in the zone, maybe for the life of the enterprise zone. What we're looking here to do is probably to do an amendment in 2 to 3 years out. We'll take these back out once these projects are built out. So that's our intent with this one here. So yeah, I would just like to support this with the incentive. In this case, they're using it in mostly TIF areas or areas that will not be able to use the property tax abatement. So none of these are going to use property tax abatement. They are just to use the sales tax incentive on the construction materials here.
So none of it would go against the county's tax rolls.
That's right. We're just adding a lot of housing to both counties. We've got, we had a lot of jobs with our projects the last few years, but in a lot of these big projects, we don't have the housing a lot of times to house new workers. So the hope here is that we'll create some new places for people to live that will be working in these industrial jobs that are in the enterprise zone. So that's really what our goal is that really strengthen our communities with some new residents.
Any questions for Andy?
Win-win thing.
Oh, is that a motion?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Nicholson's first. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Freeland. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Mr. Gates, would you like to come up and we've got 5 lots issues. Not everybody on the board is familiar with lots, so if you could go
Real
through
quick,
them.
before he starts, Bob, can I make the motion to approve all 5 of these?
Yes, I would. Do I have a second for that? Mr. Hudson seconds it. When we do vote, we're going to vote on all 5 of them together. Thank you. All those in favor of doing that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Go
Right,
ahead,
Mr. Chairman. Actually, the first 2 do not require a vote. The Greyhound single audit is just merely information. What we do at lots is we have an administrative role with 2 of the Greyhound routes, one that runs along I-88 as well as another one that runs along the I-39 corridor. And effectively, as part of our agreement with IDOT, we are supposed to actually present their single audit that they have done annually. In fact, their annual audit will be just starting a new one as of March 27th. They have a really weird fiscal year that ended on March 26th. So this is the last through, this was the previously completed fiscal year audit. And if anybody would like to see another copy of that, I can print one out and or send it electronically, but it is informational to this board as well as to the properties committee, which it was also presented to. The second item, the Mass Transit District Advisory Committee update. Really, there's nothing to report other than Brian Brim is working on, I believe, the resolution or ordinance that will be presented to this group next month. This is springtime, which for us means that we're getting ready for contract renewal with IDOT. As such, the next 3 pieces, the resolution authorizing execution and amendment of the Section 5311 grant agreement, the public transportation applicant ordinance, and the acceptance of the special warranty are all required documents that we have to submit to IDOT for approval for the FY 2022 contract that will be starting as of state fiscal year July 1 of 2021.
Everything?
If there's any questions?
No questions on that. Any questions? All right. Greg, you talked about the acceptance of the special warranty also? All right, I was talking here, so. All right, so we're voting on three things. Resolution authorizing the execution amendment of section 5311 grant agreement, the public transportation applicant ordinance, and the acceptance of the special warranty. Mr. Norberg, are you making that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Vote on all three. So do I have a second for that? Mr. Forrester seconds that. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Let's go to appointments. We've got 9 resolutions.
Make a motion that we do take all of them at the same time.
Do I have a second to that? Mr. Hudson seconds it. All those in favor of taking all 9 appointments at the same time, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, now I need a motion for all 9 resolutions. We got that. Mr. Copine, would you like to abstain from this motion? Or
Yes, sir, I would.
This vote? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve all 9 resolutions.
Chris first it, Danielle Allen seconds it. Any discussion on the resolutions? Everybody's read through them? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We have no executive session. I'd like to thank Becky for clerking tonight. Nancy wasn't here. The total team player because she put this all together today and she's helping me immensely. So thank you, Becky. All right, I need a motion for mileage and per diem. Mr. Kitson, Marilyn, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All bills and appropriations allowed by roll call. Any motion? Mr. Kitson and Danielle Allen seconds it. You want to go ahead and do a roll call?
Well, I did, but it's all spread out now. Okay. Okay, Mike Zeman,
Yes.
Danielle Allen,
Yes.
Dave Bally,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Casey Considine, Doug Farster,
Yes.
Bob Gibler,
Yes.
Jim Horstman,
Yes.
Keen Hudson,
Yes.
Rick Humphrey,
Yes.
Tom Kitson,
Yes.
Mike Copine,
Yes.
Arlen McLean,
Yes.
Lara Mamini,
Yes.
Don Nicholson,
Yes.
Chris Norberg,
Yes.
Bill Palin,
Yes.
Jim Sheeline,
Yes.
Marilyn Schipper,
Yes.
Jack Scrogstad,
Yes.
and Bob Olson.
Yes. Thank you for your patience, everybody. We had a lot to do tonight. I had to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Casey Considine and Mr. Bowers. Thank you, Mr. Bowers, for your service.
Thank you.